The rule that killed 47 people before I learned about it. I don't believe in the paranormal. I'm a programmer living in San Jose. I have a 30-year mortgage and a Netflix subscription I never canceled. I don't believe in ghosts, demons, or cursed houses. I believe in logic. So when my upstairs neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, 72, a widow who grew violets on her balcony, told me to never open my front door between 3:15 and 3:16 a.m., I laughed. Just don't open it, she repeated, and her fingers turned white where they gripped the doorframe. No matter what you hear. No matter who calls out. Even if the voice belongs to someone you buried. She died 3 days later. Heart attack, the doctor said. But when I went into her apartment to help clear out her things, she had no relatives. I volunteered because, hell, I'm a good neighbor. I noticed something strange. All the clocks in her apartment had been removed from the walls. Not unplugged, not broken, removed. And the front door was scratched from the inside. Deep gouges in the wood, as if someone had clawed at it, trying to hold on. Or trying to escape. I didn't think much of it. Figured the old woman was just losing her mind. She was lonely, her husband died 10 years ago, these things happen. I bought her flowers for the funeral and forgot about it. That same night, I woke up at 3:14. Exactly 1 minute before the time she mentioned. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. A statistical anomaly. I rolled over to go back to sleep. And then came the knock. 3 slow, heavy thuds. Like someone was punching my front door. Who's there? I called into the silence. No answer. I looked at my phone, 3:15. The knock came again. Louder. There was no politeness in it now. No, sorry to bother you. It was insistent. Demanding. The knock of someone who knew I was home. I walked to the door. Looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. The ceiling light burned a steady yellow. Nobody. The knock came again, right in front of my face, on the other side of the door, inches from my eyes. I jumped back. Hey, I shouted. I'm calling the police. And then I heard the voice. My mother's voice. Son, open the door. I'm cold. My mother died of pancreatic cancer in 2019. I stood by her bed when she took her last breath. I closed her eyes. And I heard with my own ears as the nurse said, time of death, 3:15. Please open it, the voice repeated. It's so cold. I've been walking for so long. My hand reached for the lock on its own. I didn't want to open it. Everything inside me screamed no. But my fingers moved independently of my will. The click of the lock felt like the loudest sound of my life. I opened the door. No one. Empty hallway. Light burning. But the floor in front of my door, was wet. As if someone had just been standing there, dripping. Or not water. I crouched down and touched the puddle. The liquid was black. And cold. So cold that my finger went numb within a second. I brought it to my nose, it smelled of rotten salt. Like the sea. Like a cemetery next to the sea. I slammed the door, locked every lock, and didn't sleep until morning. The next day, I found Mrs. Henderson at the funeral home. Her body hadn't been cremated yet. I convinced the attendant to let me in by claiming I was her nephew. Good thing I did it before they fixed her face. You know what they do to dead bodies to make them look presentable? They sew their mouths shut. Insert plastic caps under their eyelids so the eyes don't sink in. Paint the skin with special foundation to hide the blue tint. All of that can be ruined if you die in terror. Mrs. Henderson looked like she had seen something in her final seconds that made her soul try to jump out of her body. Her mouth was open so wide it tore the corners of her lips. Her eyes, even closed, were bulging like a frog that had been stepped on. On her left hand, the one I was holding, there was a clear mark. 5 black fingerprints. Someone's fingers. Long, thin fingers. With nails. She had been locked in her apartment alone. The door was closed from the inside. No one entered. No one left. But someone had been holding her hand when she died. I'm a programmer, so my first instinct after terror is to analyze data. I wrote a simple script to scrape obituaries and death records in my city over the last 10 years. I was looking for anomalies, people found dead in their apartments between 3:15 and 3:16 a.m., with obvious signs of terror on their faces. Doors locked from inside. No signs of forced entry. You know how many such cases I found in San Jose alone? 47. 47 people in 10 years. All died within the same time window. All found with frozen terror on their faces. All with fingerprint marks on their bodies, wrists, ankles, necks. I tried contacting relatives. Out of the 20 who answered, 19 hung up when I mentioned 3:15. One woman, the daughter of a deceased man, agreed to meet me. My father died 3 years ago, she said, nervously spinning her coffee cup. We didn't talk much. He was a difficult man. But before he died, he called me. At 3 a.m. What did he say? He said, "They're knocking. Don't open it. No matter what you hear, don't open it." I thought he was drunk. He was often drunk. But his voice was sober. He was scared. My father wasn't scared of anything. But he was crying. Did he open the door? He said the door opened on its own. And the one who walked in called his name in his mother's voice. She died when he was 8. Sarah. That was her name, started crying. I wanted to ask more questions, but she stood up and left, leaving $20 for the coffee and a napkin with one word scrawled on it, "Run." I didn't run. I'm an idiot. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my living room, drinking coffee, the 5th or 6th cup, I'd lost count, staring at the door. On the wall across from me hung a mirror. Large, rectangular, in a wooden frame. I'd bought it at a clearance sale a few years back because it matched my furniture. At 3:10, I noticed the mirror had fogged up. The room wasn't cold. It was warm, maybe 70 degrees. But the mirror was covered in a thin layer of moisture, like glass in a bathroom after a hot shower. I walked closer. In the reflection, I saw myself, tired, unshaven, red-eyed. But something was wrong. My reflection was breathing. Actually breathing, chest rising and falling. I stood perfectly still, and my reflection breathed like a man who had just run a marathon. At 3:14, the reflection stopped breathing. It froze. And smiled. I wasn't smiling. I pressed my hand against the mirror to make sure I was hallucinating. The reflection did the same. Our palms touched through the glass. My hand was warm. The reflection's hand was ice cold. And then the mirror cracked. Right between our palms. The crack was thin as a spiderweb, but it grew, spreading in all directions. From behind the mirror, through the crack, poured light. Not electric. Not sunlight. Black light. I don't know how to describe it. Light that doesn't illuminate, it consumes. Light that makes everything around it darker. I stumbled back, but it was too late. Through the crack, a hand reached out. Not mine. Long, gray, with unnaturally thin fingers. No fingernails. Where the nails should have been, small black holes, like pinpricks. The hand grabbed my throat. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't scream. I stared at the mirror, and behind the crack, I saw what I should never have seen. A room. Like mine. But rotting. The wallpaper hung in shreds, the floor had rotted down to bare earth, the ceiling had collapsed. And in the middle of this room, dozens of figures. They stood in a row, faces to the wall, like punished schoolchildren. All in long black coats. All the same height. All slowly turning their heads. I saw their faces. They had no faces. Just skin. Smooth, gray, stretched tight over skulls. No eyes, no noses, no mouths. Only one face stood out. At the far end of the row, slightly apart from the others. This one had eyes. My eyes. And a mouth. My mouth, stretched into a grin from ear to ear. It was my face. The hand let go at 3:16. The mirror stopped cracking. The reflection became mine again, tired, scared, normal. The black light vanished. I collapsed on the floor and lay there, gulping air, like a fish thrown onto shore. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You opened the door. You are now one of the gatekeepers. I called the number. No answer. I ran it through a database, non-existent. Like all traces of my investigation from the night before. 47 cases in my file had turned to zero when I opened the document the next morning. I'm not crazy. I know I'm not crazy. Because this morning, when I shaved in front of the mirror, my reflection blinked a second after I did. And smiled. I have a new rule now. I don't look in mirrors between 3:15 and 3:16. I don't open the door when someone knocks. I don't answer calls from unknown numbers. But worst of all is this. Yesterday, a new neighbor moved into my building. A young woman with a daughter, maybe 6 years old. They moved into Mrs. Henderson's apartment. I wanted to warn them. I walked to their door, raised my hand to knock. And from inside, I heard the little girl's voice. Mommy, why is the floor in the hallway wet? I didn't knock. I went back to my apartment, locked the door, and sat in the corner of the living room, as far from the mirror as possible. It's 3:14 now. The knocking will start in 1 minute. I can hear it already. It's coming from the hallway. From the apartment across from mine. From the apartment where the new family lives. I looked through the peephole. Their front door is open. Inside, darkness. So thick it spills into the hallway like smoke, like water, like something alive. And in that darkness, a hand. Long, gray, with black holes instead of fingernails. It's beckoning me. I'm stepping back from the door. I'm sitting on the floor, writing these words. I know no one will read them. I know that tomorrow they'll find me dead, with frozen terror on my face. And I know what the neighbors will say. He was just imagining things. Statistical anomaly. But now you know the truth. Never open the door at 3:15. Never look in the mirror at that time. Never listen to the voices of those who knock. And if one night you wake up to knocking, don't go to the door. Pretend you're not home. Pretend you never existed at all. Because they know your name. They know where you live. And they're already knocking. The end.